All right, Cloud Foundry Foundation Technical Oversight Committee for the 7th of February 2023. Agenda for today. Stephan wants to talk to us about branch protection. We've got possibly one PR, possibly it's the same thing Stephan's about to talk to us about. No working group update today, no other actions from previous weeks to discuss. Then any other business, as always, any other PRs, bung them on the list as we go. Floor's yours.
Okay, I guess I share my screen and walk a little bit through the PR. Not so much in the coding, of course, but from what is the functionality. I need to find share screen. Here we go. Can you see it? Is it readable, or do I have to increase the font size a bit?
I can't see anything just yet.
One moment. No, better?
Much better. Font size, maybe one up would be good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. So basically, the branch protection that we discussed in this RFC, well, the implementation went out to be a bit more difficult. Initially, we needed a contribution to this branch protector tool, where Beyhan stepped in and filed the PR, and that got finally merged. And then there is a lot of interpretation on how to apply the rules within the limitations of the tool. And well, the compromise, what came out looks like this. First of all, in a working group, you have this config section, and you have the ability or possibility to opt in the branch protection rule. If this flag is not set, then nothing happens, everything remains as in the past, and the working groups continue to work without generated branch protection rules. If this flag is true, then branch protection rules according to the RFC are generated, and they look like configured here for one example. That means there will be under the Cloud Foundry org repositories for all repositories within the working group that opted in, plus all the repositories that are configured in a static branch protection YAML that is in the TOC repository. So that is needed, well, if one team wants to have just for one repository branch protection, but doesn't want to have anything generated, or you want to overwrite any of the generated rules, because if you list a repository here, then the generation skips this repository and the static value is taken. The branch protection rule of the branch protector tool, unfortunately, doesn't provide wildcards, which is supported in GitHub. That means for this requirement on the version branches, the only idea that I had is that we simply include those branches via the include section. That means the branch protector tool will generate branch protection rules only for branches that it finds in the repository that are in this list here. That means either the default branch, main or master or develop, it depends on the project, and any branch that it finds that has a naming pattern like this. The regular expression here is something different than the regular expression that you would find in a manually configured branch protection rule. That is much nicer, but that's not possible. That has some limitations and consequences. If you have many branches, let's say copy release 144, if it would use release branches, which it doesn't, so no problem, then you would have 144 branch protection rules configured. I don't know if that works out or if there's a quota. I didn't find anything in the documentation, but who knows? And the second flaw here is the branch protector doesn't delete unneeded branch protection rules when the branch behind got deleted. First of all, deletion of such a branch is difficult because even admins, according to the configuration, apply or fall under the branch protection, and we configure allow deletions false. So there is no deletion anymore of these branches. Of course, as an admin, you can manually delete this branch protection rule and then delete the branch, and that will be probably the way to go if you need that. as said, I didn't find projects that use version branches heavily. So most of the projects seem simply just to cut releases, and there's no tradition of, let's say, fixing cut releases in the Cloud Foundry community. So therefore, it may be good enough, let's say it like this, and we can collect some feedback and then go from there. But there was no other way that I found. Yeah, the configuration looks like this. Code owners, valid question. I have no idea. I need to find it out. Probably we have to remove this flag. That's true. I don't know how that works out, but need to read or try it out. But otherwise, we would configure that no deletions, no force pushes. We have to configure this disabled policies. If that's not configured, then we cannot have branches without branch protection, which we probably don't want. PRs are otherwise difficult. And then we require pull requests for every contribution, and we need then the required approvers, either none if the project has less or equal than 3 approvers, and we need 1 required review if the project has at least 4 approvers. That's what we specified in this RFC. That's basically it. We allow additionally to bypass reviews by all bot teams on the working group and on the working group areas if it exists. And when it comes to approvers, that turned out also to be a bit difficult because projects could be listed in multiple areas. So here I decided to collect or to sum up then all the approvers of the different areas and take those as number to decide whether it's 0 or 1. That's basically it from the functionality that is inside. There's maybe one file to show. This is a static branch protection file that I mentioned. So here is the place where you could configure any repositories, either to overwrite or to have it outside of the working groups. I have here, just for playing around, this branch protection test. We can remove that, of course, later, but let's keep it for now. So for instance, we can play around with the code owners a bit. That makes sense. As always, all PRs. So I integrated the branch protection generation into the workflows. In the PR workflow, the only thing that happens is that the branch protection YAML file gets generated. That means there is a certain checks that the static file is in the correct format, and that the that there's no bug in the tooling, so nothing really interesting happens. And when we look into the real GitHub actions, then again the branch protection output file is generated, and then finally the branch protector tool is here called. That's basically all what changes in the GitHub action.
Makes sense.
Yep.
On the groups and stuff that are allowed to bypass the bots and stuff, is that an auto-generated list, or do teams need to, or working groups need to manually maintain the list of things that are considered bot groups?
That is already maintained. So if we look in the repo and we go to TOC working groups, and let's take the deployments working group because that's rather small. Then we see that we have here already the bots configured.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
the teams are generated automatically, and the teams' names are included. That should work out that all the bots that are listed here. Okay, there are no working group bots here, so it will be only this one team that is called, I think, WG minus, and then comes up runtime deployments minus bots or something like that.
Yeah,
this team
makes
gets
sense. Perfect. No more questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I have a question. So what happens if there's already branch protection rules on the repo? Will it override all, or will it just add only the generated ones and keep the ones that are not conflicting?
As I understood it, it will keep the old ones and only override the ones on the branches that are listed in this includes section. That means for all, for the main branch here and for the version branches. Everything else is kept as is. Yeah, I indirectly tested it when I tested if branch protection rules get removed, and they are not removed.
And so that regular expression for the version branches, that's resolved in the automation, or like
this is resolved by the branch protector tool.
It is resolved by the branch protector.
Yeah, so this include section means the project can have branches as many as it wants, but the branch protection tool only deals with the branches that are here in include. There's also an exclude. You can do it also the other way around. If you do not specify include or exclude, it means the branch protector tool is responsible for all branches that exist. This is something that we probably don't want. And I could also have here specified per branch, let's say the rules explicitly, but that makes much more work, and it also didn't give any benefits.
Okay, but that means that if you create a new version branch, then it will take a while, like you have until the next run before you actually get branch protection rules.
Exactly, 6 hours currently. Yeah. That's, yeah, indeed.
I guess there's just not a lot we can do there.
Yeah, it was, we worked into the implementation, whether we can make it, make a contribution to have a branch protection pattern, but the tool is implemented in a way that it works only with the existing branches, and it could be somehow against the approach they have in the tool to make it different.
That's a shame. Would have been nice, but hey ho. Any more for any more? Nope. Okay. I'm guessing that this is pull 474, which I suspect is the one that we have on the list today. It is. So on the basis of what we've seen today, are you looking for us to approve and merge this today, or are we waiting on something for upstream?
There's this one question with the code owners that's definitely open, and we could at least try it out upfront in. Can I try it out? I would need to add this old branch protection rule that I deleted. Here's this one GitHub job again. The other option would be to enable it. Since no working group opted in so far, it will work only on this hard-coded branch protection test, and we can then all play around, which means it's not so interesting for us here, because I'm always unsure due to the admin rights that we all have on all repos. So the rules may look different for the real users. Maybe I can ask around here in the team to give it a try, and then also apply a few more. No, everything is configured. The deployment spots is there. And I could maybe assign one of the deployments working group teams to grant access to this branch protection test repository, so that it looks like as if it would be in the working group, and then we can start to see if the rules behave. That's probably the most efficient way. Otherwise, you need to do that on the PR.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we can leave that with you for this week, and if you get answers, well before next Tuesday, shout in the channel and we can approve and merge if we have conclusions.
I will
Otherwise,
read up
we'll,
with the code owners if I find something, and then
otherwise, I'll put this on the list to talk about again next week. Let's put that on the list.
Yeah, once it's merged, then we need to find a good candidate working group.
Yeah.
To try it out. Of course, this rule can be removed again. I mean, it's a configuration flag, and then the rules. That's maybe also something interesting, but that's difficult to test because then the rules disappear. The branch protector doesn't see them anymore. It means once the projects have been touched, they stay as they are, and one has to clean up. So it should be a small working group where we try out.
Yeah,
initially.
We can opt in with 1-2 repositories, so not all repositories owned by one working group. Maybe just have a manual configuration for 1-2 repositories to see what's happened.
Yes, that's basically the one, the static one, which is hard-coded, which is not generated. But if the generator is switched on for a working group, all repositories get the new blessings. For good or for bad. I mean, what I can do, of course, I can, let's say, for one working group, generate those files, and we can review that manually upfront. I mean, that's easy. I can just do it locally, and then it's without applying it. But it's difficult, yeah. You just see the rules, you don't know how the tool behaves.
Will be hard for the foundational infrastructure working. 200.
I mean, we could misuse one of the working groups that don't even have a charter today and just grant them this branch protection repository and let it then generate, I don't know, or generate a dummy working group just for fun. But you need to clean it up again.
Maybe we can take the week to, while we're looking for answers before this gets merged, consider what the options are and make a decision as and when it's merged. Does that sound like a reasonable? I don't think we need particularly to make a decision on it today, do we?
No, we don't need to.
No. Cool. All right. Any more on this one? Nope. Faces all say no. Are there any other PRs people want to talk about? Nope. Any other business?
On the any other business, I have one thing that maybe would be due after branch protection, and that's again an interesting thing. I was by chance I saw a merged PR on one repository where I was surprised that it got merged, and looking it up, it looks like there are still many individual users configured on the repositories with access rights that are not covered by those teams. Maybe a topic we need to think about and I don't know, file a formal RFC and then clean this up. I'm not aware of any tooling, so it might need scripting or manual cleanup or whatever. But first of all, we should come to a decision whether we want to clean this up. We could also give this task to the working group leads or whatever. But I looked at a few repositories and it looks interesting. Let's say it like this.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to go a bit against our idea of automation, right? We have an enforcement and then it seems like it's not being applied properly, or the cleanup is not happening.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just missing a flag on perigodals.
I'm not sure whether I need to check if there's something, but I'm not aware. I think it only manages teams.
I see. So even though we cleared out all the non-standard teams and those access rules went away, there's just individuals that have other rights on repos. I see, and we're not resetting those. Okay.
Yeah.
People that have been added like an admin as an admin on certain repos or stuff.
I think it becomes historic thing, so I don't think there's bad intention inside. It's just or bypassing the rules. It's just it was like this for a long time, and yeah, it hasn't changed.
Yeah, it seems like those should all also get cleared out. But again, we want to avoid any unfortunate surprises to teams to make sure they can accommodate them.
I mean, a long lead time and notice period for people would suffice there, I think. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that one after branch protection. It seems like people are generally in agreement with the principle of the thing. Any other business?
Should we create a backlog item or an issue for that so that we not forget it?
That's probably a good idea, yeah. Whoever wishes to volunteer to do that.
I can do that.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I have another topic. So we are looking for repositories and archiving unused repositories on repositories which we don't need, but I don't know whether this has been discussed regarding Slack channels. So we have many Slack channels. Sometimes people are confused which one to use. We have now the working groups and working groups channels. Some of the people are using the old channels which are not monitored so well. There are also channels which, examples, Bosch CPI, for example, Bosch CPI dev or CF docs or Diego. We have now another working group, runtime, application runtime working group channel. Was this discussed? How to proceed with unused or not monitored channels, Slack channels? Do you see an issue here? It's fine.
Not to my knowledge that it's ever been discussed, but that could well have been before my time.
I don't think we've had a broad discussion about trying to clean up stale channels or anything like that.
Yeah. For example, I had also the same experience writing in the CF docs and getting no answer. Also, others complain that they are reaching to CF docs and don't get any answer. And we have now the docs per working group. So the docs are somehow with the working groups. I don't know how, but I have the impression if we do somehow a cleanup, we will help that communities has better orientation in which channel they should reach out for.
Yeah, I would totally be in favor of just canning channels which are very obviously not in use, very obviously not used, because having too many channels that don't have activity is a great way to make a community look dead. I don't know if we have formal processes for that, or if it can just be an informal gather a list together and then can those things one by one. Does anybody know?
I mean, I don't think we've had any policy about it. Chris might know if there's been any prior discussion about cleanup of Slack channels. And we could think about what. Yeah.
Off the top of my head, we honestly haven't done anything like that. One or two of them have been archived, I remember, but somebody actually actively said that we're going to archive a particular channel, and I think we just did it. So there's no rule as such. I think we could formulate a particular, process if required around it. And if somebody wants to declare a particular channel archive, maybe post a message or something and follow some kind of protocol. But nothing comes to mind in terms of something already existing.
Okay. I don't think I'd be particularly in favor of trying to define any process around this. It's probably something that needs doing once sooner rather than later. And then maybe again in a year, 18 months. It's not something that needs to be done frequently, I don't imagine. These things don't tend to accumulate quickly. So maybe we can just, over the next couple of weeks, just look out for channels that are unused.
Sure.
I'll stick a thread in TOC channel just to gather those. And then in a couple of weeks, we can talk about those and decide what we want to do with each one of them.
Yeah, I guess I can see a couple different categories of stale channels. There's ones where there's like no activity at all, I suppose. And those might actually be harder to detect than ones where there's an occasional question from someone, but you know, it's associated to a project that maybe we've archived or that's no longer under any kind of active development. And so really nobody's there to respond to any questions. So those are maybe ones that are a little more obvious.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I could certainly see us maybe deciding, like, if there's been no activity, say in 2022 in this particular channel, we could probably just safely archive that.
Yeah.
Ones where someone occasionally pops in to ask a question, but nobody's responding or supporting that anymore, those are a little harder to detect, but those might also just rise to our attention more naturally.
Well, this is why I think to do it over the course of a few weeks, because then at least those things naturally crop up, hopefully, for the most part. Okay, I've stuck that on the list of things for us to discuss in the future, along with the branch protection PR whenever we feel that that's ready for us to merge. So we'll get a reminder for it next week, week after. I tend to try and keep that list tidier. Okay. Any other business? No? Okie dokie. We'll wrap up there then. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Right?
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.